Welcome to today's one take meal. I'm starting with some water simmering and a little bit of butter in the pan. I'm turning this up to medium high. We're going to do the most basic of basic chicken recipes. This is what my kids mean when they ask me for a naked chicken. It is the easiest thing in the world to make. I'm going to go get a couple of tenders.
Hi, Benjamin. How are you, buddy?
There's one sizable one. And I have another, not as big, but still big. Still big. So this would be dinner for one. Two. This would feed two people. Or dinner and a lunch, which is a thing I do a lot. So I have the pan on medium high, just the very beginning of medium high. My stove has warm, low, medium, high, and high on a range. So mine's at the beginning of medium high, so vigorous but not terrible. I'm putting the rest of the chicken. I'm going to thaw the chicken for the next recipe that I want. Actually, no, I changed my mind. I know what I'm making next, though. So now that this is in the pan and the butter is melting and the frozen tenders are starting to release some of their liquid, we're going to start to season. We want to get that top layer of ice to melt a little bit before we apply any seasoning. So we're just going to take a little sprinkle. We're going to do this in layers as we go. So some Italian seasoning. Again, we're not going to use very much salt because the chicken is preserved in a salt solution. So if you go adding a bunch of salt, it's just going to be dreadful. Put this off to the side. A little bit of pepper. And a little bit of garlic powder. And we're just going to let that be. I'm going to rotate this so that it's a little more even. It's a nice thing about the liquid it releases is you can really tell when your pan is level. All right, so my water is just about at a rolling boil. I'm going to let my spatula rest right here. And I am using this pasta, cavatappi. I like a hearty pasta for my mac and cheese because my sauce is pretty hearty. This is a full pound. I'm going to make about half of this. Now that I see this bubbling too, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Want it to medium because we want this to take its time. We want this to cook gently because we want the ice to melt and we want the seasoning to sort of merge with the chicken and it'll just kind of sink down into it. Now, because I'm Ming, I know I said I don't really like to add a lot of salt, and I don't, but a little sprinkle of Tony's just finishes it off, just gives it that little bit of oomph. Now my water is at a rolling boil, and I'm going to put the noodles in by handfuls. I don't like to pour too much, and I like to splash. Now, if I want to have leftovers, what I will typically do is make extra noodles, but make the sauce on demand because we currently do not have a microwave in the house. So heating things up is kind of a production. Um, but if you just run some boiling water, like boil some water and pour them over the noodles, or heat them in like a rigged up double boiler. Like I'll put a colander over some boiling water and let them steam a little bit, and then I'll make the sauce fresh. It's just better that way. The sauce is the easiest part of this whole dinner. So what I'm going to do now is, because you can see this side is cooking faster, I'm going to put the bigger piece of chicken over there. So we're just going to scoop that around. I should have used the tongs, but I didn't. Anyway, so we're going to let that cook. And I try not to disturb the surface where the seasoning is too much. I'm going to give the noodles a stir with my noodle fork. When it's time to drain the noodles, I'll put the chicken on that burner, so that the sauce will be the main focus. Now, earlier today, I had a giant salad for lunch, so I'm not going to be making a separate vegetable. But if you needed a vegetable with this particular meal, there's two ways you can make a can of green beans almost instantly. You can just dump it into a pot and bring it to a simmer, and then scoop it out with a slotted spoon. Or, when you're done cooking your chicken to your liking, you can put the chicken off to the side, drain the green beans, and quick stir fry them in your chicken jus. Or you can just have another salad. I default to having a salad for vegetables a lot of the time because it's so easy. Just, oh look, some lettuce with some dressing. I wish y'all could see Alfie right now. He is passed out on my kitchen floor. And he is so big. My sweet man. He's a massive cat. Anyway, for those who don't know, Alfie is my Siamese mix, and he is literally the size of a small dingo. So when you add noodles to water, it drops the temperature of the water. I have a tendency, I prefer personally, to stir my noodles a little bit while I'm waiting for the water to return to a rolling boil, because I don't want my noodles to stick together, and the cavatappi noodles in particular are at high risk for merging permanently to each other. So now you can see that this one is pretty white all the way around. I'm just going to scoot it off to the side, get it more off the heat, because this one still needs a little time on this side. So I want to scooch it around. I'll try and get it more to the center. I mean, it's doing okay. It's doing okay. All right, I'm going to flip them. I am going to use the tongs. Oop. Yep, it's just starting to get soft. So you can see clearly that it's getting there. Like you can see right here, it's still very pink on the inside. Good thing we're not done cooking it. So we're going to leave this face down. I like to scoot them close together. And I'm going to give these the teensiest sprinkle of garlic powder. And pepper on the bottom. Just garlic powder and pepper. Like I said, this is frozen chicken. It has plenty of salt in it already. And we already have a little bit of Cajun seasonings and Italian seasoning on the other side. I got a little out of pocket with that pepper. Oh well. I'll make sure I have extra cheese sauce with that. And the ingredients for the cheese sauce, I guess I'll start talking about those while the noodles boil. The ingredients for the cheese sauce could not possibly be more basic. I'm timing the noodles as of now, so the noodles will be done in 7 or 8 minutes. Is some Velveeta cheese. I have 4 ounces right there. Any kind of shredded cheese. We eat tacos a lot, so I always have some kind of shredded cheese around. I'm going to use a mix of triple cheddar and shredded sharp cheddar because these are the ones that are open. And I'm not going to open a cheese. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this down. So you see how the pan is just a little dry? All that's really left is our butter. So we want this to cook gently the rest of the way. So I'm turning this down to between low and medium. So the barest hint of medium. And these noodles might cook faster than I thought. They're looking pretty plump. Just for just see what I mean. So I happen to have the bag still here. I'm gonna drop a raw noodle and a partially cooked noodle so we can see them. See? They really do get a lot bigger. That's amazing. That might even be done. Oops, dropped it. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I'm gonna take this out before it burns. I'm taking a little bit of the pasta water and putting it in the pan just to keep this chicken moist, okay? You don't want it to dry out because frozen chicken can dry out. It goes from delightfully juicy to what happens pretty quick if you don't pay attention. Especially these big pieces sometimes. So, I'm glad we checked on that. This is why I don't wander off when I'm cooking noodles. Because you are supposed to measure the cook time from when it returns to a rolling boil. But I have found lately here, in particular, I don't know why, maybe it's the ADHD, maybe I'm just not noticing. But it's definitely not necessary to wait until a rolling boil to start the timer. All right, turn that one over. Look how beautiful that is. See how nice? All right, so we're gonna let that backside go a little bit. I'm gonna check the noodles in 1 more minute. I think I'm gonna get a lid for this. This Lego movie cup from McDonald's is forever. Need a little bit of water, so I'm just gonna pour a little bit of water in here. Tiniest bit. And my lids only seem to fit the teeny tiny pan. That's not really what I'm working with, but we'll cover this chicken. So we're just gonna do that. And I'm gonna turn this down. No, I'm gonna leave it where it is. The noodles are ready to drain, so I'm gonna go do that. And then I will be right back. I'm turning this down to low. So that when I come back, I can just put the chicken directly on the noodle burner. So I drain the noodles and then I'll be back. All right, so I'm putting this down right here, and I'm getting the butter in the pan. Okay, putting my tongs at rest. And this is on low. This is on super low over there, just staying warm, waiting for us. All right, so now I'm getting some butter, probably about a tablespoon. Yeah, about a tablespoon. This is gonna make 4 to 6 servings, depending on if you're eating it as a side or a main dish. I'm gonna go for a tablespoon and a half, because that's what I like. And now that that's gone, I'm gonna start adding the Velveeta. See, this is 4 ounces. I have been buying the pre-divided Velveeta. It's not that much more per ounce if you're gonna buy name brand. So yeah, I economize in other places in order to get the Velveeta. If you're buying the big wedge and you don't have a scale, here is how you can figure out 4 ounces. If you have a 16-ounce block, when you open it, measure it, okay? And if it's 16 ounces, divide it into 4. If it's 32 ounces, divide it into 8. And just mark the outside wrapper with a Sharpie. And then anytime that you want, to make cheese sauce in 4-ounce increments, you can. Now for just me, normally I would, using my fingers in the garlic. For me, just me, I would probably do half this. I would do 2 ounces. And then I would wrap the extra cheese up in saran wrap. And I'm gonna put some pepper. Just a little. And a little sprinkle of Tony's. Now with the extra seasonings, you can add as much or as little as you please, okay? I'm not here to judge. I am only here to support. So I'm gonna let the bottom of this cool. See, I picked it up because it feels a little hot to me, even though it's on low. The Velveeta's weird sometimes. So I'm just gonna keep stir. I forgot to save some pasta water. Oh well, nobody will die. Now, I'm gonna pour some milk in. Now this is kind of an odd process, okay? Because we're gonna be adding some more cheese. So what we're doing is add some milk. If you wanna measure it, it would be about as much. You wanna have equal parts milk, Velveeta, and shredded cheese. Okay, and anywhere from a half to 2 tablespoons of butter, depending on your personal preference. Seasonings, at a minimum, you really do want to put garlic and pepper. That's really the difference between whatever macaroni and cheese and macaroni and cheese your kids will beg you to make. Your friends will beg you to make. Your family will beg you. Everyone will be desperate for this mac and cheese. All right, see how thin this is? Obviously, that does not look like mac and cheese. We're going to start adding shredded cheese and stirring it in. By the handful. And I'm going to use the triple cheddar. I already know I'm going to need at least 2 because I've been doing this for a hot minute. So I'm getting 2 handfuls. So a like amount of shredded cheese, Velveeta, and milk. Stir. Now, one thing that will happen is as this cooks, it will thicken a little bit. Depends on how quickly you want to eat. So if you want to take your time and really develop the flavors, let this simmer for as long as you can stand it. 15 minutes maybe. But if you're like me, you're just gonna eat. Just keep adding cheese until it's the way you want it. It's getting there. It's getting there. All right, so now this is where I feel like it really goes well. I'm going to go get the noodles and I'm going to start adding them in by handfuls. Because the starch from the noodles, even though I didn't save any pasta water, the starch from the noodles will help the sauce thicken. So now we're just going to stir that gently. Sometimes if I have it lying around, I'll put a little mustard. Preferably Creole mustard, but any mustard will do. It gives it that color. Mustard powder gives it that color. Yeah, see? Look how that's thickening up. All right. I'm gonna get one out. Taste it. That's so good. I would like a little more pepper, personally. So I'm gonna add some pepper. And I would like some more of this triple cheddar, I think. Well, and a little bit more of the regular. So what's gonna happen with this cheese is going to give this pull. Now, my kids, heathens, don't like pull. They would rather the sauce be smooth and pull be minimal. It's just not their thing. I'm a fan of pull. And they're on visitation, so I do what I want. I'm just gonna keep that stirred. There we go. There we go. Okay, we're gonna swap these burners over and see how our chicken's doing. Now, that's a restaurant trick right there. So what I want to happen now, so I'm turning this up to medium-high, again, because I want to simmer away the same water that was keeping it juicy is now an impediment. So we're putting this this side down. Well, see, look, we can see. Let me flip this bad boy this way. When we're looking at it like this, right? See, we can see that it's all done. Oh, there's the tendon. I'll be cutting that out when I eat. That's the only downside to the frozen chicken, is that you do sometimes get a piece of tendon. Not my favorite. All right, let me get a bowl. I'm gonna let this sizzle. All right, and now, because I am who I am, I will be plating my mac and cheese. Yeah. Hold on. I'll just do this slowly. I'm going to turn this off. Everything's off now. That's what I want to show you about the pole. That is what I mean by pull. I like pull. I like that cheese to drip, drip, drip. But that's not everybody's bag, and that's okay. So, all right, I put my mac and cheese in there. I like a little sprinkle of Tony's. And now here's the fun part, right? Is the parm. I love parm. Parsley. Oops. Parsley. Parsley, and green onion. And that's the mac and cheese. And then you just lay the chicken on the top. Anyway, that's mac and cheese and naked chicken. Hope you enjoy.